Our next speaker is Manyd Weidmann. Mandy has, I'm just trying to find my notes. She's Australia's fundraising whisperer, and she's a born community builder and volunteer. She publishes the Fundraising Directory, and she's the author of the Practical Fundraising Handbook. And she's really connected with hundreds of thousands of volunteers in Australia through her Facebook community with about 40,000 members. She believes that school and club volunteering shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel all the time, and she's passionate about sharing her experiences to make fundraising easy and fun. Last year, she acquired an online volunteer sign-up tool called Sign Up Zone, which you can see on the screen there, and it's used by tens of thousands of volunteers and is available free to community users and organisers. And she's just recently started a Facebook group called Reluctant Homeschoolers Unite, and that's grown in about 3 or 4 weeks to over 9,000 members. So there's lots of people who are sharing this real challenge of trying to look after their kids and homeschool them as well. She's a mother of 5, and so she's really got a brutal understanding of what business owners are going through right now. So that's why we really wanted Mandy on the call today. Over to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you everybody for having me here. I don't consider myself an expert in the field as such. The only expert I am is of managing my own life, but I certainly do have a lot of experience in being productive or trying to be productive in the midst of chaos. So my children range from 5. So my youngest is in prep, just started this year, and my oldest is in university. I have a daughter in year 12, so the balance for her is it's definitely crunch time for her, so actually very important stage. And so my youngest two prep in year 1, so that's very, very hands-on and intense. So I've run my business for about 15 years now, and over various times I've been in office space or working from home. But at the moment I'm working from home, and I don't think I'm ever going to do anything other than that. I can work it quite well. I enjoy it. You don't spend money on rent for somewhere else. And it's easier to manage the family. So when my youngest daughter started her prep class this year, at 10 a.m. on that day, I hosted a pina colada party. So I had all of my friends and important people over to celebrate my freedom, because last year she was at kindergarten, and when she wasn't at kindergarten, she was here with me and I was just working around her. So in that sense, I'm kind of used to it. But I thought I finally had my freedom and I've been robbed. but that's life. Everyone has been robbed in a sense. So when all of this started to look like it was happening and we were going to need to work with our children at home, I started the Reluctant Homeschoolers Unite group. And it really is, there are other groups out there that are much more, you know, what's the curriculum? What are the serious issues about becoming teachers for our children? My group is probably a little more irreverent. People share funny stuff and vent and just share the experience and the pain. There are amazing resources that are being shared too, some links to amazing apps and other little tips. So it's a lot of little tips that you can pick up on that makes the whole experience a little bit easier. Something like at the end of doing an activity, instead of saying, do you have any questions? You'll say, ask me 2 questions. I mean, that's a tip that somebody shared. I've been using it and it's so effective because I actually have to, you know, think critically and come up with questions to ask rather than just going, no, I'm fine. Like, they're much more engaged in the process. That's just an example, but there's stacks of them. So in terms of, I think a lot of people are searching for order in the chaos. They like order, they like structure. It's not as easy with kids around, particularly the younger sorts, but also the older ones who need the guidance and might be feeling a bit wobbly with the whole current environment. And again, Thea also mentioned the pressure on relationships. I think some of that structure can help to manage expectations between partners, where it is partners are both at home sort of participating in the homeschooling. We had a terrible day yesterday. It was awful. I think it's the new moon. The kids were just off the charts, feral. And my husband and I were talking, we said, if somebody had taken a video of what's going on right now and showed it to us, like when we first met, and then we started to describe what our lives would now be like. He was in Russia, far away from me, and I was nowhere near him either. So it's obviously some days are better than others, but I know from our experience, we have like some kind of structure. It's very flexible, but it means that he can take over for a short while, and I know that I can use that time to go and do my own work. But I thought I'd also share briefly my own just general philosophy on productivity. I don't think it's going to be useful to everybody because it suits my personality type, but it might be helpful for you, and it might be helpful for you to understand other people around you who are like me. So I'm a productive person. I get a lot done. I say that I add GSD to everything that I do, which is get shit done. But the difference between me and a sloth who watches Netflix all day is this: it is so fine. I am actually that person who sits and watches Netflix all day. But the way I choose not to actually live that life is to, I guess, load up my schedule to the point where I don't have room for that in my life. So I will take on volunteering duties. I will come up with new projects. I just understand myself well enough to know that I need to work at a higher level to be the most productive. I also give myself time off. Like over summer, I become the total Netflix norm on the sofa, if you like. But in general terms, I find that if I keep myself busy, and there's always something important that you're not doing, if that makes any sense. So then I can stay productive and busy. I also do this thing where I schedule the thing after the thing you need to do next. So if I have a project on and I have something that's a sticking point, I will like schedule a meeting with the person, presuming I've already done that. So I'll say I've done this, blah, can we catch up to talk about it before I've actually done the thing? So I'll actually create false deadlines, and I use it actually a lot. It's a trick I use a lot. So I'll say I'll catch up with you this afternoon to go over blah, and then I'm forced to produce it. I don't care about my image, so you might have seen on the promo for this event, I didn't know it was going to be shared, but my hair was everywhere. People can judge me or not, and if people phone me and I got kids screaming around, in the beginning, I'd go, oh, it's so unprofessional, I've got to pretend to be in a high rise, and now zero, you know what's given. And I'm also not a perfectionist, and I think perhaps I was born this way, but I think it's very important, and it's how I can be so productive. I get to 90%, it's enough, fix the mistakes later, but just move on. So I guess they're my general tips. I certainly do empathize greatly with everybody out there. It's chaos, it's hard, we're all in it together. I think that as time goes on and we all just adjust, the school system learns to deal with, because they're making this up as they go along too, then we'll all sort of find our stride and be fine and support each other in the meantime.